Hey, good morning. Welcome to Integrative Preparedness. I am Steve Smith, and how are you all today? I shot this one last night. We took a trip up the river, and talked about what I have to talk about again now, and that is using waterways as a way home or wherever you need to get after a catastrophic event. And I guess I didn't put the I didn't push the mic in all the ways because it came out great video and no sound. So anyway, I did shoot another one about 10 minutes or so of just making our way up the river at dusk. Just the video for anybody that would like to watch it over on the Patreon channel. Welcome to everybody who's new, by the way. It's good to have you. For those of you who don't know, I'm the guy that wrote the Stonemont series, and I always put the links. I don't have the books with me because I'm up in Iowa City at Kelly's family's reunion. But I always put the links down below in the information section, and a pinned comment if I remember, and I usually do, on how to get them. You can either get them through Amazon or you can get them through my website, stonemont.us. And if you get them through Amazon, you get them fast, and if you get them through the Stonemont website, you get them signed by me, but slower. So anyway, I had mentioned something about this before over on the Patreon channel, I believe, and that is thinking about waterways as a way home. You know, the way I started my first book, The Reversion, and the way so many of the SHTF and EMP books and things start is somebody away from home and they need to get home, right? Well, when you're a long distance away, and I've done, I think I mentioned this on the one about if it all collapses when you're away from home. I think I did that on our trip down to Tennessee. Well, you know, our initial thought is, you know, we're hoofing it home. How long is it going to take to walk? And if we get bicycles, how much does that cut our time down? And, you know, if we can snag a horse or something like that. And I don't mean steal, I mean buy. You know, all these different things. There are all the different options. But one thing that I hadn't gone into a lot of detail on, even though I did write about it in one of my books, and as a matter of fact, the situation in which I write about it starts in Iowa, and it's about a young couple, and I think they're two little kids trying to escape an enslaving force coming down from the north in Minnesota at them, and they get on a river and they make their way down to Kansas City. Now, so anyway, what a lot of people don't think about is using waterways. You know, if you're able to get on water, and there are different kinds of water, of course. Now, what we're on here is a very, very slow-moving river, which is nice. It's safe. It's a lot safer than if you're getting on the Missouri or the Ohio or the Mississippi. You know, those can be very dangerous. But if you're far away from home, I would suggest that you always have maps, number one. You always want to have maps, and you want them to be waterproof if possible. And study your waterways. Don't just look at the highways, study the waterways. When we were up in Montana last year, for instance, had the big one happened while we were up there, it would have taken us forever to get home hoofing it. And, you know, I say that assuming that we'd be able to make it home. The reality of this situation is you can't be sure that any or all of you are going to get home alive. That's just the reality. I won't dwell on that, but that is a reality. Things happen, people die. Horrible things can happen. But while it would have taken us a long time to come across, you know, Montana, Wyoming, South Dakota, Nebraska, and all that, and down into Kansas to get back home, many people don't realize the Missouri River starts up in Montana, and southwest Montana, as a matter of fact. Now, I think you can step across it when it starts, but pretty soon it becomes navigable, and it kind of depends on what kind of craft you're in naturally. But when you're thinking about trying to get home, that would have cut our time down unbelievably coming home on the Missouri River, which means, you know, less chance of running into people. Now, you know, it's not that you're not going to run whoa, there's a big fish floating, jumping out there. Doesn't mean you're not going to run across people on a river. You are. You might run across people from the banks. Yeah, you are. Everything has its challenges. There is no perfect way. But being on a river cuts down your time so much that it cuts down, you know, how many days you have to feed yourself and all sorts of things. So depending on, you know, wherever you are, look at the waterways. Like I said, when we were out west, this would have, the Missouri River could have brought us right down to Kansas City all the way from Montana. Now I didn't figure out how long it might have taken, but you're going downstream, and you know, you don't want to try to go upstream on a river, especially when you don't have motor. Now, you know, if you have a motor that's running, that's entirely different. But we're assuming the worst case scenario, you know, to where you're paddling. You don't want to try to paddle up any river of major size. It would be, not that it can't be done, but it's tough. And everything that makes your day tougher makes your trip tougher and more dangerous. Now, the river that I'm on right now is doesn't flow in the way that I need it to. This empties into the Mississippi. And so it's kind of taken me away from the direction that I'd want to be going. I'm already way northeast. We're in Iowa City, if I didn't say that. We're way northeast of home. But it's a long trek. It would be a long hoof across land to get home. What might be easier would be to, this does go into the Mississippi. Finally, to get to the Mississippi and get down to Hannibal. So if you all are familiar with Hannibal, well, you know, I mean, it goes clear down to the Gulf, right? I wouldn't take it to St. Louis. First off, you take it to St. Louis. These are the things you want to think about. You want to take it to St. Louis, you're going into, I mean, the most dangerous city in the United States. And if it's dangerous now, you don't want to be there after SHTF. But, you know, you pick a place on the river that is the closest. This is why maps are important. Closest line, you know, to where your trek is going to take you home. And so that's what I would do if we were, if it all happened while we're up here. And I wouldn't take the one that I'm sitting on now. This is a pontoon boat. I wouldn't take this because this area has some dams on it. That's why it's so, and they put the dams in for flood control. And so, you know, you can't portage this, right? You can't get across the dams. That's why the small craft are better. I mean, once you're on a river, if there's no dams and things, okay, get something big, but then also your draw, you know, is important. If you don't know the channels of a river, if you don't know where the sandbars are, if you're not a pilot, you know, Mark Twain, it can make things kind of iffy. That's why the smaller craft are better. You know, canoe, john boat. You know, john boats are great. Matter of fact, that's what I had the people I wrote about, the couple in one of my books that came down from Iowa to escape the slavers. And john boats, you know, they're more stable than a canoe. They can carry a lot more than a canoe. They can definitely carry more than a kayak. You know, kayaks are great for one or two people. You know, they don't have a very deep draw. Same with canoes. So you can make most waterways with those. And if you have to portage, which is simply if you have to get out of the water and carry your boat around and put in again, they're a lot easier to deal with. Now, you know, trying to carry a john boat, you know, you're going to need some people. You know, it kind of depends on how many people you got and how strong they are and all that. So there's good and bad. You know, there's positive, there's negatives about anything out there. But anyway, all I wanted, what a beautiful day. All I wanted to cover here was, you know, putting out that suggestion. Do think about this. Think about you know, using the waterways. It's a lot faster. It's a lot easier on the feet. A lot easier on the knees, depending on how far you have to go. and you can put up wherever you need to. So I'm going to enjoy. We're going to head back here in a little bit. We're doing our final visiting, and I could just sit here for the rest of the day. I do have my coffee. I just came back from the hotel. I know it's not a Stone Mountain mug, but it's good coffee. And I'd sit here for the rest of the day. You know, there's something about water, isn't there? For those of you. Oh, by the way, I would suggest if you're not with us on Patreon, we have a bunch of people that in response to the last one that I talked about, Waterways, we have some people who are very, very well versed in that, very experienced on the water. And they put in a lot of comments that would be well worth you reading. So if you're not with us on Patreon, come on over. You get so much more over there, and it's only $1 a month, and you get so much more content over there, not just from me, but from all of our other patrons that put in great comments, far more in depth than you see on YouTube. Plus, they put a lot of material in our community section that they've changed the name now. What do they call it? Not the community section. I think it's patron posts or member posts or something like that. Make sure you check those, because we got some real smart people over there, and everybody learns from everybody, and that's the purpose of the community. You know, not everybody can know everything. Matter of fact, nobody knows everything, and you know, the more you know, the more you can share, and the little you know, the more you can learn, right? Okay, well, I'm going to have to tear myself away from this and go say our goodbyes. But do think about that. What's your easiest way getting home? If you got a long stretch to go, sometimes the water is the way to go. So you all have a good day. Remember that we prepare well today in order to live well tomorrow. And I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.